James Burns is a high school boy who has just gotten out on parole after doing time in juvie. He's still under court supervision, so he has to wear an ankle monitor. His mom, Tracy, wants him to go back to school and has been trying to enroll him in the closest high school. But unfortunately, the school turns him down because of his long criminal record. James has a record of unstable, even violent behavior. In one of his cases, James was involved in a robbery and assault that put someone's life at Tracy's heartbroken, even though James took a psychological test showing he was ready to return to school. The school, however, sticks to its decision and suggests he apply somewhere else. James feels frustrated and shut out, tired of being in an environment that doesn't seem to accept him. Even though he's technically free, he keeps himself at home. Tracy, trying to be a supportive mom, encourages him to stay calm and holds out hope that they'll find another school willing to take him. For now, James has to be patient and keep his behavior in check. While waiting for his mom to find a school that'll accept him, he mostly stays at home. He doesn't have any friends around, and the ankle monitor keeps him from going very far. One evening, James realizes he's out of milk and has to run to the nearest store to buy some. He has to be back before 8 p.m. or his monitor will alert the authorities. While he's shopping, James unexpectedly gets caught up in a petty theft with a couple of pranksters. Instead of backing away, he feels excited and goes along with them. They introduce themselves as Crystal and Manny. The three of them spend the evening hanging around the city, rolling joints and enjoying the night. They stay out past 8 and the hangout stretches into the next day. The next morning, Crystal invites James to her friend Cynthia's house. With no parents around, Crystal roams around freely, drinking the expensive liquor she finds. Not stopping there, Crystal and Manny go as far as to steal jewelry from Cynthia's parents and even take some of Cynthia's things, while she, being quiet and scared, just stands there and watches. After leaving Cynthia's place, they continue hanging out, and Crystal brings up someone named Reik, saying he'd probably like James if it weren't for the ankle monitor. Manny explains that Reik is a contraband dealer who runs the area and they all work as his couriers. Later, when James gets home, he forgets to throw out the drink bottle in his jacket pocket, and his mom, Tracy, finds it. She is furious and disappointed, especially since she has been doing everything she can to help James stay out of trouble and live a normal life like other kids. James is frustrated too. He doesn't believe any school will take him now, and he is sick of feeling judged all the time. He's tired of trying to be good when his record will always follow him. Exhausted by all the routines that make him feel trapped, he decides he'll just do whatever he wants from now on. Finally, feeling defeated, Tracy lets James go. This marks the beginning of his descent into a darker life. In his desperation, James cuts off the ankle monitor and goes straight to Rock's place, the spot Crystal and Manny have told him about. Boldly, James asks Rock for a job on the spot, saying he is ready to prove himself. Confident, he claims he is more reliable than anyone else in Rock's crew. To test him, Rock points a gun right at James. But James doesn't even flinch. The next day, James calls home and tells his mom he won't be coming back. Of course, Tracy is worried and offers to come get him, but he shuts down the idea and hangs up quickly. That night, James is tasked with driving Rock and Manny to someone's house to retrieve something. He doesn't know what it is, just that he needs to wait outside and be ready to drive. A few minutes after they go inside, James notices someone sneaking in the back door. Growing suspicious, he sneaks around the back himself, grabbing a Teflon pan he finds lying around. As he walks into the living room, he sees Rock and Manny cornered, unable to do anything. Thinking fast, James swings the pan at the guy, giving Rock a chance to fight back. After securing the bag of contraband, Rock throws a party at a bar to celebrate. James is praised for his quick thinking. Even Rock hands him a stack of cash as thanks. After that, James is officially part of the crew and gets to live with Rock. Crystal seems to grow more interested in James, and they start getting close. The praise and respect from Rock fuel James' arrogance, and he loves the thrill of doing whatever he wants. One time, while delivering goods, he drives recklessly, which of course will catch the cops' attention. They will end up getting caught and busted with contraband. Crystal warns him not to let his cockiness ruin everything, but James doesn't care. He is sure no one can stop him. This is his rhythm now, waiting on Rock's orders, then either delivering goods or sticking by his side to handle problems. Rock then shares what has impressed him most about James, the time he handled a contraband dealer during a job. Rock is so proud of James that he hopes the rest of his crew will follow his example. With Rock's trust, James asks to manage a few territories on his own, but this time, Rock turns him down, saying it isn't the right time. Instead, he wants James to keep doing what he is doing. Rock promises that one day he'll let James have his area to run. One day, James is sent to collect money from a bar owner. He and his friend Drew walk in straight to business, demanding the cash, but the bar owner refuses, treating James like a kid who's just trying to act tough. Humiliated, James loses his cool and pulls out a gun, even firing a shot to scare him. Right then, two other guys walk into the bar, giving James a chance to slip away before things get ugly. But instead of just leaving, he takes out his anger by smashing up the bar owner's car. While he's at it, he spots a bag loaded with weapons and grabs it, thinking he can swap it for contraband. When James gets home, he tells Crystal what he did. Instead of being impressed, she's disappointed, telling him this kind of behavior will only lead to more trouble. Crystal wishes James would act mature and think things through as Rock does. She's convinced that as long as James keeps letting his pride and temper control him, he'll never be on Rock's level. This sets off an argument. James hates being called immature, and Crystal gets more frustrated, especially when he throws back that she's useless and too friendly with any guy who comes around. Turns out, James has heard rumors about Crystal getting close with Rock and a few other guys she met at the bar. Then Rock shows up, furious. He tells James that selling weapons is way harder than selling contraband and that James has messed up his relationship with the bar owner, who was a longtime client. Rock, clearly done with James, tells him to sell the stolen guns himself. After cooling down a bit, James heads to a store to grab a drink, but when he finds the fridge Rock D and can't get what he wants, his frustration flares up again. A store owner, Sarah, gets scared, and seeing that reaction makes James feel guilty, helping him calm down. That's how James and Sarah meet. Sarah never expects James, a known contraband dealer, to be so kind-hearted. As they get to know each other, they share stories. Sarah tells him she has to work part-time because her dad has lost his job. From the very first meeting, James feels comfortable around Sarah, so after that night, he starts meeting up with her often just to talk and share stories. James admits that he just wants to live a normal life and be accepted by others. He misses his childhood and wishes he could spend even one day like other kids. Sarah's reaction surprises him. She doesn't care about his past and even encourages him to turn his life around right away. They seem to enjoy each other's company, especially James, who finally feels he has found someone who genuinely cares for him and accepts him for who he is. Meanwhile, a lonely Crystal eventually ends up getting closer to Rock. On the other hand, James feels like he's found a fresh start, and it turns out that Sarah's friends are also welcoming and accepting him without any judgment. They even play basketball together. For the first time in ages, James feels the happiness he's been missing, and he is grateful to Sarah for being there for him. Unfortunately, that happiness doesn't last long. When Rock returns, he demands that James take responsibility for selling the stolen weapons. Rock has already lined up a buyer and sent James to the arranged location. At first, James refuses, saying he wants to live a peaceful life now, but Rock calls him a coward and ungrateful. Stirring up James' emotions, maybe James would be a nobody if Rock hadn't given him a chance back then. In the end, James agrees to the job, but makes it clear it will be his last. At the deal, James and Drew show up in Rock's car, just like usual. The deal starts with James showing off the weapons, but when it is time to get the money, the buyers ambush them and try to make a run for it. Determined not to lose, James fights back, and his shots force their car into a crash, creating a roadblock. Unfortunately, he can't retrieve the weapons as he suddenly hears police sirens getting closer. By then, cops had already surrounded Rock's place and arrested both Rock and Crystal. James runs straight to Sarah, urging her to move to another city with him, but Sarah refuses. She doesn't want to leave her life behind, especially since her parents didn't only her around. Reluctantly, Sarah tells James he has to go without her. Confused and upset, James goes home, hoping to see his mom and sister one last time, but he doesn't get the chance. Police arrive quickly and arrest him on the spot. James is sentenced to 4 years in prison, with most of his time served in juvenile detention. Then James is transferred to a state prison under Lieutenant Felton's supervision. In just 4 months, he managed to build up a group of supporters thanks to his courage. In that prison, he also has a rival named Guillermo. The two gangs are always on edge and often stir up trouble. For instance, when Guillermo tries to mess with a new inmate named Chris, James steps in, not out of sympathy, but because he wants to make a scene. The guards on duty brace themselves, knowing that whenever these two gangs clash, chaos usually follows. Sure enough, things quickly escalate. One day in the showers, Guillermo tries to stab James, but luckily, Chris sees it coming and immediately warns him. Another fight breaks out, and in the scuffle, one of Guillermo's friends picks up the dropped knife and stabs Chris. The guards arrive soon after, and James is pulled in for questioning about whose knife was used to stab Chris. Though James knows it belongs to Guillermo, he refuses to answer, saying he isn't a snitch. Because he doesn't provide any info, James is thrown into a rat-infested isolation cell. After several days, he is moved to another cell next to a lifer named Conrad. One night, James wakes up and asks Conrad if he can borrow a book. Conrad flatly ignores him. Later, when James and his friends gather in the yard, he asks them who Conrad is. They tell him Conrad is just a notorious inmate who has killed 5 people outside and 2 inside the prison. Out of curiosity, James tries getting closer to him by asking about the book he is reading. Though Conrad seems indifferent, he does answer James' question. James then opens up about his plan to take down Guillermo. Conrad just smiles, warning James that acting on impulse will only lead to regrets. One day, James' mom Tracy visits him. She shares stories about her busy life and mentions how much his little sister misses him. Tracy urges James to work on his attitude so he might have a shot at a reduced sentence at his parole hearing and maybe even be free by Christmas. After that visit, James often finds himself daydreaming, reflecting on his past mistakes. He starts feeling remorse and pours his emotions into writing, jotting down thoughts, and even writing poetry about his life story. Conrad reads his writings and encourages him to keep going. Each night, James keeps writing, and Conrad, hearing his words, begins to believe there is a good side to James that not everyone can see. When Chris recovers and returns, James immediately apologizes for dragging him into the fight. Chris then confides in James that his mom has been visiting him every week and is the reason he is still hanging on. James encourages Chris to stay out of trouble so he'll have a shot at reduced time during his parole hearing or even a chance at freedom. But unfortunately, Chris' hope of getting out is dashed when Guillermo attacks him right before the hearing. By the time he goes before the board, Chris' face is bruised and swollen. In the end, he is sentenced to another 6 years, and he is crushed by the news. During outdoor time, Chris suddenly makes a rope out of pillowcases and a blanket. Seeing him about to end it all, most of the inmates taunt him, shouting for him to just jump. The guards panic, and so does James, who shouts at Chris, begging him to stop. The whole thing leaves James feeling guilty and sorry, even though his hearing is the next day. He still punches Guillermo. Later, Conrad pulls him aside, reminding him to keep his cool, saying that anything can happen in this place. Conrad mentions he's seen people get away with crimes while others, despite good behavior, never get out. He urges James to think about the chance he still has to turn things around. James, usually ruled by his pride, finds comfort in doing things that make him feel respected, like a kid trying to prove himself. For once, he listens to Conrad's advice and goes to his hearing with a different approach. He opens up about his fears and worries, even sharing the writings he's done in prison, laying out his regrets. James feels genuinely sorry, though he doesn't expect to be released. He is ready to accept any punishment or risk, regardless of the outcome. To his surprise, James' honesty convinces the judge, and he is granted freedom. His sister and mom immediately hug him. It is exactly what his mother has been hoping for. They finally get to celebrate Christmas together as a family. A few weeks later, James tries living a straight life working at an arcade. The pay is nowhere near what he made when he worked for Rock, and some of his old friends drop by trying to lure him back into the contraband scene. At first, James refuses, but feeling disrespected at work, he ends up taking on one last delivery. After that, he plans to leave town and put all his past behind him. Before making the delivery, James stops by to see Sarah, only to find out she is engaged. Although he feels a pang of disappointment, he is genuinely happy for her. She is moving forward and has found someone who makes her happy. They talk openly and come to peace with everything they've gone through. Sarah is proud of the poem James has written in prison and believes he is on a path to a much better life. After that meeting, James completes his deal that night, collects his share, and the next day moves to New York with his mom. Starting from scratch, he takes a simple office job. By 2018, he is still living in New York, attending writing and poetry classes at Manhattan Community College, and working to build a new chapter in his life.